Good morning, everybody. This is the Package Group weekly sync meeting for November 18th, 2019. I'm gonna kick off. I've put up just the metrics we have here. Just want to make everyone aware that there have been some discrepancies, and we're working on fixing some of those things at a broader level with the metrics, but we're all using the same metrics. So if there are some discrepancies, at least they're consistent across different people and whatnot. So go take a look at those. I sort of feel like I should have this as a read only right now while I'm figuring a couple of things out there. How we work changes are live. So that was the discussion we had around 12.6. Just got to, basically if everyone could just review that, the big change there is minimal deliverable items in the milestone, and picking up work from the package active set of package active issues that are there, and those can be pulled forward by anyone, but we do have a process for validating that we have a solution and whatnot. So that would be, that's all described up there. And if there's any confusion around it, please ask questions, make MRs, like fix it, because we're going to start working this way. And the idea is we have less directed work and more work that you can just pick up. And pick up means to just go and grab something that's package active and ready to roll. And just get it done, and that means the smallest thing you can find pretty much, or help someone else on the team. It's up to you. Yeah, all right. I think that's over to David, unless there are questions. Yeah.
Okay. So we have been discussing on Slack, when do we close an issue? Basically, I think it's Nico is using the auto close feature. So you have the merge request having a description with closes the issue number, and so that when the merge request is merged, the issue is closed. And I was using the documentation, so we have to remove that when we open a merge request. And actually, Steve added more details as to when close an issue, which is when it's verified on production. So what is the good answer? Since we have two things differently.
Well, sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut anyone off there.
Yeah, so I was just saying that probably my process is wrong because the other one is documented. But like this, we basically have a milestone, which is 3 weeks, because nothing that is merged in the last week will reach production, and you will be able to test it in the process. Now, this is less important with the company process, but maybe we need a bit of clarity around this, especially because our team workflow doesn't describe this part at all.
Did you have a question, Nathan?
Yes. I ran into that too on the release team with that closes the automatic closing of the issues from merge requests. I don't know if it's possible that we could. I feel like this would probably be like a GitLab wide problem. I wonder if we should remove that from our default merge request template, because pretty much every issue I've worked on, there's been multiple merge requests, so you don't really want to automatically close it when one of them's merged. Just a thought. I don't really know how we go about doing that.
And just for context, that whole idea of removing the closes the merge request, closes the issue in the merge request, that was initially added when we started the new like auto deploy system, I think like a month or two ago. So since we weren't doing a monthly release and we were doing a weekly release, we needed to have more control over when issues were closing.
Makes sense.
Yeah, so the way you make that change, and I'm not saying we need to make that change, but if you want to make that change, you can actually find under the GitLab folder, there's a templates folder in all of the projects, and inside the templates folder is where all the templates are actually stored. So you could go and change it there. If you feel like this is a change that's necessary, then the way to do that is to go create the MR. And then share it around, put it in, company announcements, put in development, and let people contribute. Personally, I don't think there's any problem that something closes the actual issue. The problem with it closing the issue is you've got 3 open issues, and the first one you get merged closes the issue, and then there's 2 that are open. But as far as the release post is concerned, which I didn't get done because of all of the reasons, I feel pretty grumpy about that. But anyway. And I need your help, Nathan. I sent you a message on Slack. Please help me. We're still looking at the open merge request for the particular issue that comes up in the release post anyway. So if you're still working on it, it's a problem. If you're not, it's fine, because ultimately we're checking commit shars against ChatOps to figure out if something's actually done or not anyway, and not that the issue is actually open. Does that make sense? I'm not saying it's a good answer, just more context. Go, David.
So I have two merge requests that are deployed on Canary, but not production. So these ones would be considered as missed deliverables. Okay, yeah, makes sense.
Yep. Yeah, everything has to be deployed and in production to be determined as released. And we have a process for the release to do the release post. Again, I spent some good part of the weekend trying to get it to work, but I couldn't because I needed some help. And I didn't want to bother people on the weekend. But effectively, I'm sort of being pretty dogmatic about the process, because if we have a process, I'm going to follow it until it breaks and then go, hey, it doesn't work. So yeah, I would say, yeah, the idea here would be to make a merge request to the template to remove this closes option, and then see how people go with it. That would be my suggestion. Whoever wants to take that and run with it should feel free. Does anyone else want to talk about this particular issue, or should we move on?
Yeah, just a second, just to ask again. So this means that basically the last week of the milestone is not really worth about misdeliverables, right? Everything that gets merged in the last week is going to be probably misdeliverable, correct?
Well, you can actually go find the timeline for when we go and check. When the release post process starts, we have specific dates for each release to go and verify that things are open. It was the 17th on this milestone. And then on the next one, it might be a little different, but it's like 5 to 6 days, business days, somewhere around there beforehand, because in order for it to be merged and then make it all the way to production, it takes a good amount of time, depending on the release cycle and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, effectively, it'll be somewhere around a week. It doesn't count. As far as our release post is concerned, and our self-hosted customers who are waiting for specific releases, for .com, it goes out and everyone gets it anyway. So, and that's correct, right, Tim?
Yeah, sorry, I just had that mute. Yeah, that's correct.
Cool. This was always the case. Like, this is what's funny. We seem to be like, it's like fashion, we have this that week where we're not working. We're like, how can we do this better and have a week where it matters? And then we change the process, and then we change the process, and we change the process, and now the week doesn't matter anymore. Again, maybe it's a different week. Maybe we're changing things around. Anyway, I don't think I have anything else here. Does anyone else have any thoughts here before we move on? Cool. Nico?
Yeah. So, question: are we interested in the intern pilot program? So there are some requirements, but I think we do meet them. And there is just 4 intern available for the pilot program. So if we are interested in some, we will need to make the request. And I thought this was the right moment to propose this, discuss this. Anybody has any thoughts about it?
I had success a couple of companies ago having some engineering interns. I'm curious, would the actual product the engineers think? Do you think that it would be worthwhile?
Well, one of the things is that there should be bandwidth for some of the engineer to actually teach the intern. I think on the front end side, as it look like now we have, I can't judge on the long run because things will and may change. But for now, it look like we have bandwidth. But that's my idea.
Yeah, I thought about this as well because I think it'd be a really cool program to be involved in. I would like to I would like to test it out. I think I kind of have the opinion that part of like career progression in everyone's career path is to be mentoring people who really need mentorship. Like when you're intermediate/senior, like which we all are either one of those. Well, in terms of engineering, making that step through that, there's not a big gap for the most part. So you're not really coaching someone that really needs stuff explained at a really low level, or mentoring someone like that. And the idea with the internship program is to hire people that are relatively new. I think we could make it work, but I'd want to see a little bit more definition of how people think that would work. Because we have the onboarding buddy program, right, which everyone has been through at some level. That would have to be expanded pretty significantly. So my concern is we've still got Haley and David who are relatively new and onboarding and still kind of getting their heads around it. I know because there's a heap to learn. And then you've got the front end, Nick and Nico. I think you could handle it in your sleep, to be frank, because I still feel like we're not giving you enough work. But I can see the front end side working, but I don't know if we get to choose on it being a front end or back end. It would make sense if we would, but I actually don't know. So that'd be the first question to answer there. Nico, does anyone feel pretty strongly about wanting to have an intern in the team, and do they feel like this is something that we should pursue right now? Great question, by the way. Thank you.
Well, I mentioned it because I'm interested in mentoring. I do actually outside of work, so if I can do it in the work, it will be better for me. But it can't be only me, clearly, because it impacts the team. Well, I mean, it can be. Okay, so here's what I would suggest, Nico. You should maybe chat with, I don't want to speak for Nathan, obviously, but what you report to Nathan, but I'm kind of thinking this of how I would approach the problem. So this is just an idea. So, I would say if you're really interested in mentoring someone, then definitely let's figure out how we apply, whether we can actually get someone on the front end, because that will be important. Right now, I think back end would be a bit tough just because, like I said, we've got people onboarding still and getting used to the whole setup here. So that would be a little bit extra load. So we want to answer, can we get front end? What's the process? What time commitment we think that would be? If you already do this outside of work, I would think you would have some idea of what that would take, but recognize that we are all async. We're supposed to be async and remote, right? So that can make that quite difficult. That'll mean, like, in my head, setting aside some good portion of like a day, like an hour or something or two, actually just making sure you're in touch with this person very closely. And therefore time zone will be pretty important. You're going to need that overlap. So I don't remember, I think they were targeting certain colleges in the States just because it was easier for us to get running. So you sort of have to determine the time zone overlap to make sure that it's okay if there's overlap with you and or Nick, so that that person has contact. If they're interning in our
team generally, I would treat them as part of the team, not part of Nico's project, obviously, because that wouldn't be fair to the person or you. So I would be more than willing to help. I would guess Tim, I don't want to speak for you, but I imagine Tim would be stoked to help as well. We'd all be wanting to help the person be successful. So I think we've got that. But those are sort of my fundamental questions. And if you're really motivated, and maybe chat with Nathan and see if you all can work together on this, and then pull in other members of the team as necessary. Does that make sense? And again, this is just ideas. Chuck it out if you don't like it. I'm not trying to tell you how to do it. I'm just.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. I think it makes sense to discover the unknown and answer some question and then see if it's feasible. Okay, thank you.
What's the, I know there's a deadline for us to apply for that. What's the deadline for that?
December 1st.
Okay. Cool.
Okay, so I think I have the next one. So I brought up one issue that was initially planned for 12.5 for me. So the front end part that was blocked by GitLab UI is now unblocked because the component that we need is merged. Since it has like deliverable, but it is not in workflow scheduling, none of our new workflow label, I thought the question is this workable? Should be in the queue of the stuff that we can pick up for like the company process or not? Mm-hmm.
Are you asking my opinion?
Well, I think it's either you or them.
I added a note. Sorry, I added in the tag. I think I still think this is important. If we're not blocked on it anymore and there's no like performance or backend concerns, I'd say definitely work on it.
And to be clear, the backend part is still like to be done and it will be blocked, but I can fully do the front end part without feature flag as usual.
Let's talk after and then see if there's anything else that could be more actionable that could be picked up. But if not, then I'd say work on those.
This doesn't have a weight. Is that because it's like the actual action is in a separate issue?
It's weighted inside in comments, I think. Right? I'm quite sure. It's a backend 5 and front end 1.
That's a good match right there. I feel like I feel like Tim's call is the right one. And thanks for calling this out. Let's just chat about it afterwards because we'll have to figure out if there's something that's better actionable. But if it's a one front end and it's pretty easy, then I think we could talk about it a bit more. But where do you want to chat about this, Tim?
Maybe we could just stick around after the team call and just talk for a few minutes.
All right. Yeah, sounds good. Let's talk after we finish the agenda. And you have the next item, Tim.
Oh yeah, so I woke up excited for Contribute actually, and thinking about seeing all of you, and I met up with William last week at the conference. So I was wondering when we should start talking about it and if we want to talk about goals or team activities. I know it's a little early still, but it seems like everybody has travel plans too. So if we want to optimize, maybe we could set aside some time next week or something to talk about what we want to accomplish and where people are going to be and stuff like that. Because I feel like it's going to be a lot of fun. It'll be my first Contribute actually. So I'm really looking forward to it.
I think I haven't booked yet, mostly because I've been trying to figure out where I'm going to fly into, because I really want to I don't want to miss the opportunity to go visit some places I haven't visited before. One of my best friends lives in Cologne in Germany right now, so I'm thinking about flying in somewhere around there and visiting him. He may not be still there by then. He might be moving ? Which is why I'm kind of but yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking, flying at least a few days early. what's everyone else doing for Arrival? Do we want to like share this somewhere? Like what our plans are that's a little bit more async friendly than talking on a team call?
I can create an issue on the team board, and I'll just put in like a structure for arrival, departure, and like any dates that people are open to meeting up in different cities. I know I definitely want to go to Buddha and Pest and meet up with Nico. So,
So just to call out, I think that should actually be restricted access, because I think particular dates and locations of team members it falls under non-public information. I'm fresh in the handbook, but I think that's right, and I would prefer it that way.
Yeah, we don't want to say that on the recorded video for sure. It's the where Tim's talking about creating it, that's not public, so we're good to go there.
cool. I'll create it, and then I'll make sure it's confidential even within our private project, so it doesn't get shared. Thanks, Haley, for that call out. I definitely don't want to be saying where people are going to be specific dates.
And then Nathan, I think you have the next question.
Yeah, so sorry, question way up top, number 2 about our workflow. I didn't think of my question fast enough. I'm just curious how, I know on the release team we have a lot of issues with our process kind of turned kind of waterfall-y, where we had like the UX specs had to be done before the front end could work on it. And that's particularly what I felt since I was a front end developer. And then like we also have to have basically everything figured out before we started development. I'm just curious if there's something in that one of those columns that you can pick up, but let's say the UX specs aren't done for it. What do we do? Like a front-end developer can't just pick something up from that column. So I'm just curious, like that scenario, what we would do.
So process-wise, we sort of, we're trying to do a little bit of walking the fine line between waterfall-y and agile. And just because at some level with async, I think it's tough to do like really dynamic scheduling of stuff. Just because like if Ian's online or not, or someone's online that you need from the team, you won't always be able to get stuff done when you need it done. The idea in the process to have everything validated before it gets the workflow scheduling tag label, excuse me. The workflow scheduling label should be where we talk about what other dependencies there are outside of, say, if it's a front-end issue, workflows, it goes into workflow scheduling, which means that Tim and Ian have sort of had a chance to sort of think through the issue from the perspective of UX and product. And I'm not trying to speak for either of them. I'm just trying to think through the process as we described it. And
sorry, Dave.
Go ahead, Tim.
I was going to say this definitely feels like a confusing gray area of the process right now, and I'm sure it's stressful for Ian too. Just to speak for him, and me too, because there's a bunch of those issues that are in scheduling that have maybe a one-line description. It just says something like add this thing. The goal for me, at least, and maybe Ian, you could talk about this for yourself, is I should be working through that scheduling list and making sure that each item has a clear problem to solve and a clear proposal. And as I do that, I'll be working through that list in priority order. And as I do that, I'll be commenting like, at Ian, could you take a look at this if it needs a design? And so we'll be having the conversation in scheduling. And so the idea is that if, let's say, if Nico wants to pick up an issue from scheduling, he could say, okay, I think this problem makes sense to me. We do need a design. At Ian, could you take a look at this? And Ian will say, yeah, I can, or it may not be until next week, or you could throw together a design and maybe Ian could just give it a thumbs up if it's something small. So it doesn't have to be waterfall-y. That's the way that I've been thinking about it working, but I don't want to speak for Ian or anyone else.
No worries. That was exactly what I was going to kind of suggest, is as Tim is going through and synthesizing all of the different issues into kind of full-blown issues, I should be following directly behind him in order of priority of actually saying, this one probably needs a comp, I'm going to put that together. It needs validation, so I'll move it off its track, or it's really simple. Here's a basic wireframe. And what I've been trying to do is also pair with Nico and Nick as a front end team and try to make sure that we're constantly talking about the issues that I'm working on. So my goal is that hopefully they can pick it up and say, we've already talked about the design. I kind of know what you want to do. I have the extra time. Should I just run with it? To try to avoid that waterfall-y feel. But as soon as we're done with some solution validation, I'd imagine the queue is going to be a lot fuller of comped out, fully solutioned issues. So hopefully we'll move away from this.
Yeah.
Well, and I want to, sorry, just before we carry on too much there, I want to point out that anything that's in workflow scheduling is in theory available for an engineer of any description to pick up. But if you go pick something up that's not clearly defined and doesn't have, if it's an API, CLI, or a front end issue, and it doesn't have UX, some way in from UX, it's on you to go and get that way in. Because if you get partway through it and Ian goes, hang on, this isn't right, or Tim goes, hey, this isn't going to work, that's your time that went away trying to work on an issue that's not defined. So just recognize that we've got people on the team who have expertise that is in some of those cases required, but it's on you to actually get that and make sure that it's something you can solve. The idea being we want people to be able to go pick stuff up and go work on it if it's clear what it is that they need to do. But if it's not clear what it is to do, then you really have to make sure that you've asked the rest of the team to make sure that it's clear what actually needs to be done. And that's kind of partly my effort to avoid this situation where it's waterfall-y, but also not have people blocked waiting for stuff to finish a process that may or may not be required. Tim called that out a couple of times when we were talking about it, of being like, oh, but couldn't they pick some things up? Couldn't an engineer come in and get something that looks clear and go and do it? And so this is kind of how we tried to solve that, by making it a little bit gray by design, so that you could kind of go, this is very clear. I can do this right now and go put package active on it and get moving. But again, it's on you all. I trust everyone's judgment here. And if we make mistakes, that's okay. But let's try not to make a heap of the same mistakes of like starting work on something that's not defined. What were you going to say, Nadia?
Yeah, I just wanted to highlight the same, that in order to this process not to feel waterfalling, maybe we just can talk a little bit more sometimes. So if a front ender has a bit more time, free time, I think it's nice to reach out to Ian and asking if there is any ticket that can be worked already on, even if it's not, like the work can be started. Or like also on Ian's side, it's nice to involve engineering sometimes early in the process to be discussing those things, just like Ian said. So I think this, this waterfall question can be solved partially with a little bit more communication on the two parts.
I actually need to go have another meeting backing up on this. If people feel like want to chat about this a bit more, we can either have an issue to talk about it, or we could follow up with this in one of our other meetings to sort of chat about this synchronously. But I actually need to go. So I know Tim can represent this process pretty well because we were talking through. So I'm going to drop and you all can continue, but it looks like everyone needs to go. So let's create an issue inside our channel in our team group for that too. And we can just ask questions. Tim already has, it's number 14 in our package stage issue. If people want to go grab that and look at it, I'll add it to the doc, but let's go talk about it there and ask questions. Sorry, peeps, I gotta go. Appreciate everyone's time, question mark?